Okay, this is Adam Taxon here. I got an email a little while ago today. It's April 26th, the 4th of ER on the Jewish calendar. It's Yom HaAtzmaut, and I received an email on something, I guess, more relevant to Passover, but it seemed appropriate for today in an ironic sort of way. It says, Adam, this is unbelievable. Do something, please. And she's talking about a foreword going around called the New Republican Haggadah, which is featured at the new National Jewish Democratic Council website, and was apparently written and published on Huffington Post by someone named Steve Sheffy, pro-Israel and political activist. So I don't know what to do, but what I will do is do a dramatic reading of it. Apparently 478 people like it on Facebook. I'll do a dramatic reading, and I will summon what I imagine Steve Sheffy or the Steve Sheffys of the world to sound like. I'll summon my inner Jewish liberal male. And with that in mind, I will do the reading as my inner Jewish liberal male. The New Republican Haggadah by Steve Sheffy, pro-Israel and political activist. Jewish history is littered with sects, groups of people, kind of like Jews, who celebrate the same holidays and have many of the same customs, yet are somehow different. Today's sect is known as Jewish Republicans, few in number but very loud. Like most Jews, they celebrate Pesach, but they've got their own Haggadah. The differences between their Haggadah and ours are instructive. After drinking the first cup of wine, most Jews wash their hands, but the Republicans stay seated and wait for the water to trickle down. Most Jews then eat a green vegetable, but the Republican Haggadah follows the ruling of Rabbi Reagan that ketchup qualifies as a vegetable. Ketchup is not green, but green is the last things any Republican would want to be. Reagan does have this in common with Moses: neither ever set foot in the land of Israel. Get it? Sorry, this is Adam again. Let me get back to my inner Jewish liberal. Next, we break the middle of the three matzot. Most Jews break the middle matzah into two roughly equal pieces, replacing the smaller piece on the Seder plate and hiding the larger piece as the afikomen. The Republican Haggadah asks the leader, or in Republican parlance, the Seder CEO, get it, like CEO? That was my addition again, to keep 99% of the matzah for himself and let the other participants share the remaining 1%. Get it? Because we're all occupiers. That was my addition again. I'll keep it just to the text. The Torah speaks of 4 sons, but the Republican Haggadah speaks of 4 candidates. The simple candidate, Santorum; the wicked candidate, Paul; the candidate who does not know how to answer, Romney; and the simple candidate who thinks he's the wise candidate, Gingrich. They have no wise candidates. The highlight of the Republican Haggadah is its version of Dayenu. It would have been enough. The Republican motto when it comes to President Obama is nothing is enough. No matter how much I screwed up again. No matter how much President Obama does for Israel, it's never enough for some of our Republican friends. President Obama has called for the removal of Syrian President Assad, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama ordered the successful assassination of Obama bin Laden, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama has done more than any other president to stop Iran's illicit nuclear program, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama, I guess himself apparently, President Obama restored Israel's qualitative military edge after years of erosion under the Bush administration. But that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama increased security assistance to Israel to record levels, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama boycotted Durban 2 and President Obama boycotted Durban 2 and Durban 3, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama has taken U.S.-Israel military intelligence cooperation to unprecedented levels, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama casts his only veto in the UN against the one-sided anti-Israel Security Council resolution, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama opposed the Goldstone report, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama stood with Israel against the Gaza flotilla, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama organized a successful diplomatic crusade against the unilateral declaration of a Palestinian state, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. By the way, pretty insensitive to use the word crusade, don't you think? Anyhow, President Obama immediately intervened to rescue Israelis trapped in the Egyptian embassy. Yeah, I guess he did it himself, like killing Bin Laden. Sorry, let me go back. President Obama immediately intervened to rescue Israelis trapped in the Egyptian embassy, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama maintained the U.S. policy. Oh, wait. President Obama gave orders to give Israel whatever it needs to put out the Carmel fire, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama maintained the U.S. policy of ambiguity on Israel's nuclear weapons, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama has repeatedly condemned Palestinian incitement against Israel and attempts to delegitimize Israel, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. President Obama pulled out of joint exercises with Turkey after Turkey excluded Israel, but that's not enough for our Republican friends. There's probably nothing President Obama can do to convince some Republicans that he's pro-Israel. If President Obama split the Sea of Reeds and walked through it dry-shod, they'd accuse him of not being able to swim. They made their mind up before he was elected that he could not be trusted, and they ignore everything that contradicts their biases. Oh, come on, dude, just say it's racism. Sorry. The ultimate message on the real Haggadah is hope. Sound familiar? Let's hope that just as the vast majority of American Jews voted for Barack Obama in 2008, the vast majority of us will remember who we are and what we value and vote to re-elect President Obama in 2012. And, sorry, I can't do that voice anymore, but it's over, thankfully. That's by Steve Sheffy, pro-Israel and political activist, and you can find that on the Huffington Post. And you can find the new Republican Haggadah also at the National Jewish Democratic Council website. And it really doesn't have any annotation on it. All right, hope you enjoyed it.